everyone, I'm Dianne Devitt. Thanks for being and tuning in to What's Up. We have a continuing series and we're focusing now in culinary and food, and with me today is the Dean of the Institute of Culinary Education, Steve Zagor, or Steve or Stephen. I always go the V or the PH, right?
I accept everything, even George.
Even George? Good,
Fine.
We'll go with George today.
George is good.
This is Steve, thank you for all your insight in our other discussions and filling me in on what ICE is all about and you and how you got involved and being a native New Yorker and being thrown into the restaurant world, right? And now leading one of the premier and preeminent culinary institutes in the world, I think. But I wanted to focus and ask you, this is your life, being in food. And what is the most common question that you're asked about food?
Common question is, you spend your life in food, how come you're built like this? Because I'm very lean.
Right.
I'm genetically lucky. I come from a family of coat hangers.
Well, listen, you're lucky because usually when you meet a chef, you know when you see a happy chef, it's like a happy Buddha kind of thing, you know?
Dianne, I used to own a group of restaurants, and they would say, could I speak to the owner? And here's this guy that comes out that is not exactly large. And they would go, what's the food like here? If you're eating it.
You don't eat it, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can eat zillions of calories and not gain an ounce.
Well, listen,
I have one of those metabolisms.
You know what? God gave you a special gift. That's all I have
you know
to
what?
say.
I don't know. I mean, God also is taking away my hair. I'm paying retribution.
Well, anyway, but what do you find? What do you find though when people come to you, whether it's at the school or in your consulting world or in education? And you brought this up before, that there are so many nowadays. When you think about it, the little pop-up stores, the little hole-in-the-wall stores, people specialty focused, on one little tiny cupcake, like the bite sizes are getting smaller. What do they care about the most?
I'm going to answer that in a way that maybe not the way that you're thinking, but I'm going to answer it in the way that I think has become, especially currently, has become probably the most important, is that a significant percentage of people that own and operate food business today really don't know what they're doing. And I don't care if you're selling... I actually
was going towards that.
Well, you were. Because I could talk about the next great hamburger, I could talk the next great health craze and all of these things because we work on that when I develop concepts.
Right.
But honestly, when you read articles in various newspapers that what's the death of the restaurant, that labor costs are going up, which they are, which we have a very, very precarious model with high product cost, high labor cost, high rent cost. All of these things, the perfect storm for not being successful sounds like it's happening, especially in the New York area where our rents are quite high. But at the end of it all, I'm not saying that the waters are choppy and hard to navigate, but most I won't say most, but an awful lot don't know what to do. They don't properly know how to price a menu. They don't understand how to schedule. They don't understand the areas that you can save money. They don't really understand how to structure a menu in order to be able to maintain costs. There's just so much. It's a very complicated business that seems very easy. And
don't they all?
They all do.
And coming from theater and coming from events, my world is, people often wonder, well, what makes your event different, or what makes it seamless, or does it?
Exactly.
And like you say, you go in and you're bringing up a very interesting perspective, because there is something that you and I both grew up with, which was fine dining, and even at our family table, not rushing. Learning how to have conversation and really enjoying it. And then you have the proliferation of the fast food, but now, like you say, is and I feel like this can be applied in different ways, are taste levels being lowered for the masses, and then is there that strictly fine dining for just those people who really know the difference of when you have a harmony in your mouth? Because when I eat in a really fine restaurant and the portion is this small, it's that small because every bite has to be savored. So it's that, but then it's also just, we touched on before is the theater of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to share like one, when I was I would never forget this, when I was a young girl going on a date first time, and I remember whichever restaurant it was, and I ordered.
How many times did you have to ask him out?
About 18.
Just kidding.
I remember ordering fish, and it was served in a parchment. So I just figured it would come to the parchment. Now, what happened?
I can see what's happening here.
I'm telling you what happened. I was out of the corner of my eye. I saw a bamboo rod with this little pouch on the end come out of the kitchen, and the waiter actually took like as if he were fishing, and he placed it on the theater. I will never forget that. Placed the parchment on my plate, and that was how it was served.
Interesting.
So anyway, I don't want to distract.
No, because I'm just disappointed, Diane, you don't remember me because I was on that date with you. I was on that date.
You know, I knew you looked familiar, Steve.
Yep. I was the early shift. You were the later date that night.
You know, I knew you looked familiar. I just couldn't recall.
Yeah, I had more hair those days.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what it was.
And you were going by Stevie.
Stevie.
All right, that now I remember.
That was little Stevie. Yeah.
So I know that was a lot, but I see, like, so where you're getting, and just to go back to that, is they don't know what they're doing because maybe they're missing some of it.
And I'm not saying that there's difficult times, and there are. And I'll talk to students right now and say, maybe there are easier places to operate than New York City with the high rents and all of these things. But the demand here is basically unlimited. There's so many people that can fill in your top line if you do it right. There's so many people that can make you a star. If you opened a restaurant in a small town, well outside of New York, not in the metropolitan area, the challenges are hard. The number of times people eat out on a given week are small. Getting good help is difficult. Getting ingredients is difficult. You turn yourself into what looks like the Garden of Eden. It's no longer the Garden of Eden because you're barely making enough money to survive. And the grass always looks greener. My thought is always, take the horrible things that are coming and let's make it work. And it can work. It's not like New York has become so complicated because there's plenty of successful restaurants here. But everyone needs to realize that there's a lot to learn. And just because we've opened something and done it one way doesn't mean there's new ways to learn.
If you had to prioritize, say, 3 to 5 things for somebody in this arena, what would they be? Like what would they be?
Number one would be how to sell. I mean, how to market, what a menu is. Gets back to sensory marketing. I could certainly go down the road of the creativity that you need to get people to sample what you're doing, the experience, making the experience happen. Number 2 is understanding structurally how to price the menu, how to price different ingredients, how to portion, and how to maintain that structure every single day, every single meal, making sure that the product is the same all the time. And number 3 is managing the labor, is managing the people. It's not just managing, which is the most difficult because humans are the...
Sure, of course.
A tomato doesn't talk back. And
exactly.
It's
but
not
someone
only,
can throw the tomato.
You can throw the tomato, squash it, turn it into tomato juice, and they're not going to arrest you.
Exactly. No, those are really good tips. Well, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and I'll see you on that next date.
I'll be waiting.
We're there.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Dianne, Devitt.